Tell me this. Have you find yourself being busy, helping the kids, making sure your spouse is taken care of, making sure your mom and them taken care of, your cousin, everybody else was taken care of, even killing the game there on your job? They like, yo, you getting it done. You are the employee of the month. Whew. That gets me tired just thinking about it. But yes, even though you may be busy, are you really moving the needle in your life? Do you feel like at the end of the day, you still feel unfulfilled, feel like it's something that's missing? I want to share with you what someone shared with me. A few years back, my pastor shared it like this. Some of y'all may think I'm busy. I got a lot of good stuff going on. I got my hands in a lot of different areas, but I'm never busy. I'm always fruitful. That's one of them drop the mic moments right there. I took note because I'm like, yo, that's a game changer. Because if you're not being fruitful, then what are you doing? You have to say no to some good things in order to say yes to the better things, the great things, the thing that's really going to help you get to your purpose, your plan, that's really going to help move the needle in your life. So it's okay to help people, but don't allow it be to the point where it causes you to miss out on where you're trying to go. So instead of giving someone a fish, you have to teach them how to fish. So if you teach them how to fish, they'll never be hungry again. So instead of making sure that you do your kids' chores for them, show them how to do the chores. Show someone how to be able to help and solve that issue versus giving them the answer all the time. And so when you do that, now you get your time back. Now you be able to free yourself up to do the things that's meaningful to you. And it's okay to tell people, oh, I can't do that one. And just keep on going. Because I've learned in my later years to say no and just keep it moving. And they'll figure it out, because if they're serious about changing that situation, then guess what? They'll work at it. Don't be the answer to everyone and miss out being the answer to yourself. And so I want to help you to see something different, because someone had to pull the scales off my eyes one day, and they had to help me see, hey, it may be a better way to do things than the way you're doing it. And so yes, I take you back on my memory lane. I have to tell you, I wasn't always perfect, which I'm not now. But during my 30s, I was involved in a lot of stuff. I was coaching football. I was in my son's in school. I had 3 boys raising, so I was very active there. I was working 2-3 jobs sometimes. I found myself in church. I was doing all kind of areas of ministry, serving here and there. Also, I was involved in the community. I had a men's ministry called Brothers. We were serving, doing a lot of great works there, mentoring, and on different boards and just on everything. I was everywhere. But I found myself at certain times, and I didn't tell you, I was married. Yeah, I was married too. But even though I was doing all those things, I look back on it and I say I could have done some things differently, knowing what I know now. I'm not saying what I did wasn't important, because it did open a lot of doors. I met a lot of people, done a lot of great things to help some people. But I also realize now that I may need to say no to some good things in order to say yes to the best things and the greater things that I know that I need to have been probably put a little more time and attention to. And so I want to help you to do the same. What I mean by that, I want to give you 3 helpful tips that I have to do now. I'm doing it even myself to make sure that I'm saying yes to the right things and saying no to a good thing. Because the enemy of great is good. Yes, you can do a lot of good stuff, but you'll never be great if you're always saying yes to the good. So this is some of the things that I want you to take note on. First thing you want to do, you got to take inventory of what's on your plate. You first have to identify what all you got going on. Meaning that, hey, I got to do this for the kids. I got to do this on my work. I got to do this during my day. So you have to categorize the time frame. Because during your time, you only get 24 like everybody else. And you got to identify, how am I spending my 24 hours? So you have to start identifying, what am I doing each day that's getting my time? Now, I know you can't be there all day taking inventory on every second, but do as best as you can. Start looking at the things that you're doing and say, hey, this is something I can delegate to somebody else. This is some things I need to stop doing, and these are some things I need to start doing more of. So once you identify those things that get in your time, now you got to see how you're spending that money. A lot of us want to run from that, but you need to be responsible of the resources that you have been given. Some things you need to say no to with your money, because if you don't say no to this, you're not going to create good habits of your resources. And so I want to challenge you to start saying, hey, let me look at my bank statements. Let me look at how I'm spending my money so I can be prepared to say yes and be fruitful when the time comes. Because the worst thing we don't want to happen is when we have been given a good investment and you can't afford to be in it. And so you want to make sure you start working on your finances to be in position for when something great appears, you are ready to take advantage of that opportunity. And thirdly, you have to see what gets your attention. I am so guilty there. I'm speaking to myself more than anybody else. So sometimes you'll find yourself, you going on social media to do something else, and you find yourself scrolling. Like I was supposed to do this, but hey, 20 minutes later, you're still on there scrolling. That's what you've been doing. But you have to be disciplined on not doing that. So you may give yourself a slot of time. Say, hey, I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes to go ahead and watch social media or do whatever I'm gonna do, whatever that is. And after that, I'm gonna cut it off. You may have to be that person that maybe have to, for a season, discontinue that. Because that may not work for you. You'll find yourself an hour later, man, that 10 minutes didn't turn to an hour. And so you have to be disciplined enough to identify what gets your attention and those things that you need to say no to. Let me go ahead and work on that. The second thing I want to share with you is we have to have a value system. Sometimes we're lying to ourselves. Sometimes we say our priorities are God, ourself, our spouse, then the children, and then everything else. But you got to then go take inventory. You have to say, okay, now when my job is calling me and telling me, hey, I need you to come to work, but you saying, hey, let me tell my spouse or my kids that I can't be there for the special event that I planned with them, are you going to go ahead and say, nah, I've already made plans, I can't be there? So you have to then be honest with yourself, because if you are like working overtime and you know you could be at your son's daughter's game or whatever activity, but you choose to be there, not saying you're wrong, but don't lie to yourself and say, hey, this is my top value. Because if work is your top value, you need to be able to identify that's what it is. And once you start being honest with yourself and know that this is my priority of my values, because it's not saying everyone has to have the same values, but you have to be open with yourself, to be open and honest to say this is my values, and you operate along what you believe that you should be operating in. Because if you say, hey, I may need to change some things, now that you have taken inventory, you can make that necessary adjustment, because now you know this is where I want to be versus where I'm at. Now that you have your values in place, the third piece you want to go ahead and start putting in place is who versus how. A lot of times we get caught up on trying to ask how to do a thing. But instead of asking how to do a thing, you may just have to find out who you need in order to get that thing done. Because it may not be the best use of your time by doing that thing. You may need a team and partner with somebody else who can get the job done a lot better and a lot easier than you. Instead of trying to figure out how to clean this house, you may need to bring in a housekeeper to be able to clean the house for you. Now you're not stressed out, because that is not the best use of your time. Instead of cutting the grass, hey, call somebody else to come in and do that, because that may not be your best skill or best use of time. So find that who versus trying to figure out how to do a thing. Now that you have those three things in place, guess what? Go out here and win on purpose, because if you start putting those things to work, you'll start seeing a change in how things are working for you. You'll be less busy and more fruitful. If you like what you just saw right here, check out this next episode and be great.